Two,
Yay.
setting up your live stream. So technology is so nice.
It's definitely live already.
Two,
But you just never know, no. So we smile and we wait.
don't say no to me. You're not Destiny's Child.
Oh,
Cause
my
it's-
feet is giving me so much Beyonce stuff.
do you like the no part one or no part two?
No. I like both.
Do you?
I do.
Two only.
That's the one that everybody knows, right?
Doing this. Well. The first one is like,
Which one is the single? Because one is
well,
just on the album.
I don't that's a good question, Michelle. I don't know. You're a Houston historian, so you should know all things Destiny's Child. But no. Part two is the one with Wyclef Jean, and no. Part one is the slow one, and they
It's on
juke
the
it.
album, and not everybody knows that.
No. Actually, I do think I like the slow one better.
I heard the second one before I heard the first one. And then I was like, oh, the second one was birthed out of this.
Yeah,
Wow.
talk about it. Talk about. I love that word, birth. Okay, happy, good American family finale.
Kendall, you were so right. You and I love that you tried to like hold my hand through it. You were like, no, girl, there's not going to be a second season. But it's more so about, just putting a book in.
A bookend, because it's not a bow. It's not a bow at all. It's a
Yeah.
bookend.
No, it's not a bow.
Yeah.
It does have bow qualities, though. It really does kind of have some bow qualities because I feel as though there's, in part, they offered a resolution at the end. Would you not say that they offered a resolution of some sort at the end, at the very, very end? And so at least you wouldn't feel like loose ended, I guess is the word, and have some type of warm, fuzzy feeling at the end. You
So
disagree?
if I'm asking you how you felt about this episode, are you saying you feel, I'm trying to infer, satisfied
Do
with,
I feel satisfied? Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I mean, I'm going for the bow. I honestly am because they did their best. There were some things that I still wondered about, like some of the character choices that were made, but from a series and then from what I know to have unfolded and what we've witnessed in this whole thing, I was satisfied. Um, and they made it feel like we're not going to go anywhere else. It is what it is.
they did
It
say.
had a tis what a TI is flavor to it.
Yeah, it was giving like your Uber drivers ended, get out. It was giving that. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the story that we have to give you people. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that was it.
I
And
was
yeah.
well, I was pleased with the blend of Hulu storytelling, what they've lifted from other people who have told the story, and what they've lifted from actually probably talking to the Barnetts and Natalia and the Mans. Like they did a very well blending of realities to give us some version of what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I liked. So, you ready to start unpacking?
Let's get
Get
unpacking.
unpacking. So we
What
started
you
off.
drinking on?
No,
Wait, but you at least tell me what you're drinking on. You can't just drink something and not say what's in there unless you
water.
need to keep it private. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have a Slim Jim, and I got this for you, Kendall. I know we're getting unpacked, but I just want to tell you that I got this. Well, and I realized you're saying Chex cereal, and I'm thinking of Chex Mix, and it clearly
Everyone
says
does.
savory here. So thank God this isn't what you're eating over milk, and that's all.
Well, really quickly there, you are in, great company with a lot of people. You're kind of obsessed with Christmas and holidays. And so that's where your like kind of depiction of Chex Mix comes from. It comes from people making that during the holidays. Like I don't like trail mix during the holidays, but that's where it comes from. So it's fine.
How did you know that we listened to Donny Hathaway on the way to school today? And this Christmas,
All right.
I'm dead serious. Okay, I'm ready.
I'm having a skinny pop, white cheddar popcorn, and I also picked up some golden Oreos that I'll probably have with milk later. That's what we're gonna unpack together. Slim
Those are
Jim.
good. Okay,
Those are
yeah.
good. Okay. All right. So we start things off. This episode, Blood on Her Hands, last final episode of Good American Family. We start off with Dr. Phil getting a longer cameo here. And we're really getting Natalia to tell her story on primetime television, daytime television, really. But we are seeing her and we're picking up at this interview where she's talking about her life with the Barnetts. And she's
Yeah.
talking about, what life was like and what she wants. Side note, Imogen sounded just like Natalia Grace here, just like her.
Yeah, she does. She studied that really well. Another side note, I do know that Ellen Pompeo never met Christine Barnett. And I say that because you mentioned earlier that maybe they were talking about it. I think they took those recordings of them in depositions and in the courtroom. But you know, when you're in the court, but you're not in the courtroom,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
she took those and studied the mess out of those because
She did. She hit the nail on the head. So, in this interview, it's revealed Cynthia Mans basically just says that Christine used Natalia as a project and was unsuccessful, and that's why we are where we are.
yeah,
Dr. Phil ends the interview with, what does she want? Natalia Grace simply says, I want justice. And now we go back into the year 2022 because they were actually watching that episode to prepare for court.
yeah, yep,
So, they're watching, preparing for court, and, they also show all of these different things that like basically the Barnett's lawyers, they have two lawyers, one for Michael, one for Christine, are prepping them for the best way that they can for court. They watched the
yeah,
Dr. Field interview, and now we're in the year 2022 when all of this is going down. But what they also watched was Natalia Grace's GoFundMe as well. So Natalia is really making the rounds here of making a case for herself of like, the Barnetts did me a disservice. I'm on Dr. Phil. And also I need, surgery because of the experiences that I had with them. And so this is really getting under the Barnett's skin.
yeah.
Not only getting under the Barnett skin, it's also getting under Michael's new wife's skin. Because this whole time she is gunning for Christine. She's gunning for everybody. She's sitting in that room. I don't even know why she's in that room. She's not a parent, but she's basically Michael's what is it called?
He's his family.
But she's basically his emotional support animal there. And she
Yeah.
speaks when he's not speaking up,
Mhm.
But she's basically like taking every dig at Christine she can during this trial that's happened, the preparation.
Yes, and when they decide that maybe she needs to leave the room because she's a little hostile, and she's like, "No, I'm not leaving. I am family." And they're like, "Okay."
Right.
But anywho, so she leaves the room, and then she gives Michael that kiss,
Juicy.
and I sat there thinking like, does she think Christine is any kind of way jealous of this? Like, you don't understand the dynamics. If you thought she was a B before, this lady does not. And Christine is cringing just like I was cringing. She was like, ew, like, what in the world? She is completely unbothered. She just wants
And
this
turned
gal
off.
out of the, yes, and turned off. She's like, just get this girl out the room so we can get down to the brass tacks. And they
Yes.
proceed to I actually really love Michael's lawyer, the way he's playing the character, but they proceed to ask over and over again, who can corroborate what you are saying about Natalia? And they go down the list. Ken, I don't know
The
if you have
list.
the list, but I'm gonna tell you what I remember. I remember the teacher, the one
Yep.
who from our Hulu audience saw that there was something wrong with Natalia. They show this man on camera saying, Yeah, Christine was tripping.
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah,
nothing wrong with that little girl. I
yep,
thought she was really, really sweet. But Christine was so hard on her. And she kept talking about her disability. And then Christine said she has a rebuttal for every single potential witness. Oh, well, he was just upset and I offered to give them disability training and they rejected it. So they're just bitter.
yep,
Okay, what about the mom, the one who was her previous adoptive mom?
yep,
Oh, then we see her saying, there was something wrong with that lady. Natalia didn't do any crazy stuff." Then oh, well, why would, then here's Christine. Why would she be on our side? She just wants to look good. Then there was the neighbor from the hood, from the apartment complex. I was bothered when she ran off with my son, but if I had known she was a child, I cannot believe they did that to her. Person after person after person says, wasn't nothing wrong with that girl. Christine has something wrong with her, and we were worried and are
yeah,
worried about that little girl. That's what everybody says. And the room is like the air is being sucked out of the room each time. Michael can't even breathe because he's like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me this whole time there's absolutely no one? He's like, I knew that I was scared of you and I was just taking what you were saying. But
yeah.
you actually made, and they don't go as far as to say this right now, but you actually have no one at all to
In
agree
your
with.
corner, in your corner.
No one at all.
Nobody.
And Michael is flabbergasted. He just cannot believe that there's not one person that can corroborate what she said.
Agreed. And I love this episode so much because we are going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So they're preparing for pretrial. And also the Mans and Natalia are preparing for pretrial. Everyone's got, they're really about to come out guns a-blazing here because this is the final act for everybody. So, like you said, nobody can, they can't find a witness to save their lives. And in the Mans prep room, Natalia and Cynthia have a really interesting interaction this entire episode. But it
Very
starts out here.
interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. But it starts out here. They're bickering and they're going back and forth. I think they're both very nervous about this. And they just don't know what to expect. I think
Yeah.
Natalia's feeling very good about the outcome, but Cynthia's being a little bit of a negative Nancy here.
Yeah.
And the lawyer there is kind of trying to hold everyone together. But one of the big things that Natalia, who's very smart and very cunning, thought to do was, well, how can we help this case? How can we bolster it? I've been doing my media tour. What can we do? What can we do? What can we do?
Yeah.
Well, mind you, Facebook messages. She said, oh,
Yes.
check her Facebook. If we need more proof that I was abused, that I was this, that I was that, check her Facebook. And the lawyer
Yeah.
says, got it, let's go.
And Christine, no, Natalia says, Christine was on Facebook all the time.
All the
She's
time.
had to have been saying stuff on there. And so one of the assistants or paralegal or somebody goes out and pulls a litany of horrible, defaming, just messages that you would never want anyone to read. They're using the M word. It took me a minute, Kendall, to remember what the M word was. Was that just me?
No. Yeah, no, it took me a minute too. And I was like, what could they be calling her?
Yeah.
I'm so close to so many other words that people use. But I didn't know what the M word was. And I got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got it.
Um, and it was so, I love the fact that they wrote that the lawyer wouldn't say it. He was like, I'm not getting in
I'm not gonna touch
that.
it. But wait,
I'm
but
not touching this.
before we go there though, because they get those Facebook messages in a minute. But
Yeah.
before this is so important. There's two key things that happen before they actually get the
Okay.
Facebook message. So Michael's lawyer sees that things are not going well. They might not be
Yes.
going well. He sees
Yes.
that. He's like, okay. Um, and he basically pulls Michael aside and is like, I think I think we may be able to get you off, my man,
Yeah.
but they might ask you for a deal. So I think you need to consider at this point. He doesn't directly ask them at this moment. You need to consider that you might have to testify against Christine.
Yeah, yeah. And Kendall, what I loved about that moment is it's very lawyer-like. I don't know how much you've dealt with lawyers before, but they don't like typically they don't urge you to do something. Like if you're looking at, I don't know, a life sentence or something, I'm sure they're going to be like, hey, brother, we should
Right, right,
make a
right.
deal. But in these cases, his lawyer could have said, look, Michael, they want Christine, which he did say. They're
Yeah.
actually more interested in Christine than you. If you get off, maybe she'll get off. But if they make this deal or whatever and you give up Christine, you could walk away.
No,
And
no, 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 no. You did it and then give up Christine.
it's like, you can walk away. And he also knows that Michael needed, I think, that because he
Yeah.
already knew, he sees how scared of her he is when they're in the room together. So he knew Michael wasn't going to be ready. So he kind of gave it out in little bits and pieces. Can you
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about this? You should think about this. And then later on, he'll, give him a little bit more. But I thought that was a really interesting choice to not just say, hey, you need to do this. But he gave Michael the license to say, I think I want to.
I love that, the license, the artistic license, if you will.
Mhm.
And so again, this day has been long, and they've talked about the Facebook messages. They haven't quite gotten them yet. And while Michael's busy being pulled aside by his lawyer, scheming and plotting, that we find that Christine, fresh from Canada, has been staying with her best friend Val. We
Yeah.
see that, and we also see at the very beginning of their conversations tension. Christine is on a phone call trying to finagle a deal because there's no money. She has no money.
Yeah.
And the woman who she's talking to, she's trying to sell her spark cure to the woman, is like, things look kind of good, but we just want to kind of see. My boss saw something about child neglect, and Christine starts falling apart. And Val comes in and saves the day and says, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 don't worry about it. She's great. She's good. That was a misunderstanding, yada, yada, yada. She saves the day. And then now the woman wants to do business with Christine. But again, after that phone call is over, there is some residue between them that's just like best friends. It's starting to wear and tear on their relationship.
Well, because Christine is in a place of need, but like great need, and
Great.
Val is the one pouring out everything and not necessarily getting anything in return. The whole story of Christine being this angel is getting a little old.
Yep.
Now things in the press are turning up, and I'm sure that's wearing down. But what Val brings up is, oh, well, that's good. You want to get on the phone with your publicist and you can pay me back from all these high priced lawyers. And Christine gives her the head nod, like, and a blink blink that says, come again?
Yeah. Come
Am
again,
I,
my friend.
am I detecting some potential resentment? What's going on here?
But the resentment goes from resentment to confrontation. No, I think that's too
Yeah,
strong. The resentment goes from from resentment to strong doubt.
yeah.
Because in the same moment that your friend is like saying you're bleeding me dry, you turn around and say, girl, we can't find nobody to vouch for us. We can't find nobody to
Yes,
us. Will
yes.
can you speak on our behalf in court? Val says, what?
Al says, "Oh, she actually kind of almost treats it like it was a little bit ridiculous, actually, because she was like, "Oh, well, everything that I know about Natalia is what you've told me, so I certainly couldn't just get up there and say what you've told me because it would be hearsay. And what's that thing that they say in court? Objection. Like I just can't do that. Like for her, it was black and white."
Yeah.
Even with everything that's going on, Val has been trusting what Christine said. But when you start
What
talking
your
about,
friend, what
yes,
your friend has told you to be fact. Absolutely.
exactly. And she trusted it like a friend. And then the moment where Christine is like, oh, but can you put it on paper?
Right.
She was like, oh, absolutely not. Like, I can't.
Yes,
She was literally just like, it wouldn't even serve.
yeah.
And Natalia, no, Christine said, what did Christine say? Was like, well, you could da 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 da. And she kind of hinted at, you essentially, you could lie, you could
Yep.
just say the thing happened. And Val was like, child, I don't play around with court.
That, and I wrote in big letters, Val declines. I love when
Yeah.
somebody declines. She declines.
No,
So
thank
now,
you.
so we're seeing a disintegration here of a few different things, of the relationships, of like basically the person that, as people who paid attention to the show, the person that Christine has painted herself to be, there's no one there to vouch for her being that person. It's all smoke and mirrors. So now we find ourselves back in the pretrial preparation, and but this time we are going back with the detective, and Natalia. They're reviewing the Facebook messages, and the Barnetts are reviewing the Facebook messages, and everyone is just nervous about what's going to come out. And that's where they mention the N word. So moving forward from that point,
But Kendall, we need to say at least a few more things of how horrible these were. There was the M word. There was,
there were a bunch of words
yeah, they referred to her as that woman at some
that,
point. That
yeah,
thing, that
that
thing,
thing, that
that
thing.
thing. Um, it was all just vile. I mean, you could tell there was absolutely no respect. I mean, and that's a euphemism. There was like just utter hatred. I don't even know what to call that. It was nasty. That's what I call it. It was downright
Vile, vile,
despicable. Yeah, vile.
despicable and vile. I agree with
Yes,
you.
yes,
I agree.
yes.
And Michelle, okay, I like the pause there. Thank you, because I was going to run past it because it was so shocking. But when the reveal of those text messages, those Facebook text messages, was so crazy because it was like an Encyclopedia Britannica of text messages. I think they said there were over 5 or 6 thousand messages shared
Mm,
with them. There was so much to go through. And to
yeah.
think about, I mean, think about how you and I text, or you and your husband text. I know you text your husband more, so that's probably a better example. Um, and imagine if all of that was about one person, and it's like they're hyping each other up in these text messages. And it's just, that's what groupthink is. And that's how people do very bad things, because they're hyping each other up. A litany of messages back and forth, painting Natalia to be the bad guy. And that's where we are. That's how we got where we are today.
And it seems like in the courtroom, Natalia and her lawyers would win in a landslide based on these messages. Absolutely
Alone.
no messages alone. Okay. We're just going to convict you because you're nasty, is what you're nasty. That's what would happen.
That is what would happen. And so, again, everybody's worried. Everybody's sweating. And Michael, so inappropriate. Michael is just and shout out to the actor, because he's really doing Michael justice in the last episode and in this episode. But
Mhm.
Michael finds it appropriate to tell him that what we, the way things are looking, I might have to testify against you. He tells her that. He tells her that. But again, you can't manipulate a mass manipulator. So she says, got you. She says, I got you. Let me take you home. Let me take you home. Let's talk about this. Things don't have to go in this direction, Michael. We can work through this. So he obliges, and he's like, we can go through the messages together. Let's take some time to
Yeah.
go through these messages
Yeah.
together. So they end up at Val's house, and when they walk into Val's house, he gets the biggest surprise.
Sure does.
Who's waiting on him at Val's house
His three boys.
that he hasn't seen in how long?
Years. It's been years, right?
Years.
Um, and his jaw is on the floor, like, oh my gosh. And he's like, you guys got so big. They're looking at him like, what is dad? And they say this, what is dad doing here? And Christina's acting like ain't nothing, like she hasn't been defaming and slandering him to these kids for years. Well, your dad and I just have some things to clear up. I thought you guys were going, I think she said they were going to a concert or something. They're like,
A
no, we're
movie, a
going
movie.
a movie. Yes, they weren't going to see the new Thor movie. And they're like, no, we're not. And she's like, okay, well, you know what, Michael, let's come upstairs. Instantly, Kendall, like you said, the manipulator, you know that she has, I feel that she has taken him to a residence to probably work her womanly influence over
Yep,
him.
absolutely.
I also felt like lucky her that the boys weren't there, because that was another thing that elevated her, that the boys were there. That elevated for her. Because now it's like the whole original five of us are in one space. How does that make you feel, honey? Look
Yep,
look what there could be. So they go upstairs, they're talking, they're sitting on the bed side by side, and we're talking about feelings. You know what, Michael, the reason why you never got over her, and they don't say who it was, but she's talking about the first adoption.
yep.
um and you never looked at me the same. I also felt like you didn't need me anymore. And Michael's, no, no, Christine, I did need you. I needed you. I still have those pictures. I know, Michael, I know what you need. And I'm like, oh, oh dear God. I'm like, Michael, don't be that weak, because
Don't be that dense.
he's got a good woman for some reason standing behind him. Don't mess that up.
Jennifer.
Right,
Jennifer.
yes. The boys bust in
Wait,
as,
but can we, before you talk about the boys though,
yeah.
I really want to paint the picture because we're gonna go straight into the boys because everything you're saying is so true. She's working her charm, she's doing her thing, but we didn't spend enough time talking about how disgusted those boys were when they saw their father. I mean,
Oh, yes.
they were visibly angry. And we're not even talking about, it's a difference when you are angry when you're 9, 10, 11, 12. There's not so much that you can do when you're that age and you're angry. You're just like angry and young. These are young men, 16, 17, 20. They are strong. They're like dogs. Like literally, I thought they were dogs that were gonna chew their father up and spit him out, you know?
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I thought was super interesting. That she would still, in this hostile environment, she's got these three pit bulls downstairs. She takes the father upstairs to try to
Oh,
seduce him. And then what do you think is going to happen? You think you're going to let you guys just go? What do you think is going to happen? They're going to come in.
because she has trained them, maybe the word is indoctrinated, or brainwashed them is the best thing. She has brainwashed them, as we see is one of Christine's best abilities, to believe that he hit her. Didn't they even say, I thought he hurt you, he hit
Yep,
you?
yep, that's what they said.
Yes. They believe that their dad was completely awful, very similar to Michael, who, though he saw all of the horrible things that she did and he did nothing to protect Natalia, the reason for all of her abuse was only coming from Christine, and he believed it. Or maybe you believe he don't believe it, but what we're led to believe in this series is Michael believed what Christine was saying about the girl's period, about her age, about fits of rage, about trying to kill us, about throwing me against the fence, every single thing. And she's the only person who was there when it happened.
What you did was just connect the dots for all of us. Yeah, you connected the dots. So the kids interrupt the kiss, like most kids do. God
Yeah.
bless children. And they say they're hungry, like most kids say. And then Christine thinks it's a wonderful, grand idea to go to this pizza place that they all used to go to when they were one big, happy, good American family. So they
Mm-hmm.
go to this pizza place, and I love this part so much. It's not even in my notes, but I remember it.
I know what you're talking about.
They are eating the pizza, but it is a solemn affair. Like who
Yeah.
died? Who died? The family died. Um, but they're sitting there and no one is speaking to anyone. But not the oldest son, not the oldest son, Jake, not him, but the second
Yeah,
oldest son,
yeah.
there's a little conversation there. And basically, uh,
Christine tells him
Christine
to eat
tells
up.
him to eat a piece of pizza. She's kind of like being, like some moms are a little pushy about this. And he's like, Mom, no, I'm not hungry. And then, Michael thinking he's got a friend and he's gonna win his son back. He says, Yeah, Christine, don't treat him down, don't, you don't have to do that to him. He said he's not hungry. That pit bull second son says, Don't talk to mom like that. Bass in voice. Bass.
Then he picks up this floppy slice of pizza with his tongue dangling all out his mouth, like, oh, I'm
And
hungry
ate
again.
it. And said, Don't you ever talk to my mama like that. Ever. And I know people have been in positions like that because people love their mamas. I love my mama. I know you love your mama. Don't you? I can get sassy with my mama, Connie.
Don't
Love
you
you,
talk to
Connie.
my mama like
Don't you ever.
that. Yeah, yeah,
So
that's what it was.
this really tight moment is interrupted by Michael getting a call from his lawyer, who's doing a great job acting. As you said, I really wanted to emphasize that. He did such a wonderful job portraying the lawyer, just like the
Yeah.
lawyer in a lot of ways. But he calls him during dinner because he's like, sends him a message, an article that is shocking. That if you didn't think that we were shaking the table here, we're shaking the table this episode. Because what article does he send him?
Remind me, Kendall. I'm drawing a blank. What article does he send him?
Natalia's birth mom came
Oh
out.
yes. Then the birth mom comes out and saying, the doctors told me XYZ. She was never going to amount to anything. She was never going to have a good life. You should just let go of her and move on uh, with your life.
And this article has made the rounds at this point. That's why he called him, because it's been released. It's hot off the
Yeah.
press. So everybody's reading the article. Natalia's reading it. Everyone's reading it.
And just to point out, Kendall, just in case it's not super clear, why that's so important is because that is what should put the nail on the coffin that says this girl was born on this day in this year.
Yep.
Again, now you got the messages, and now we've got the birth mother,
The mother.
undeniably the birth mother
The mother.
saying, this is when the girl was born. I know it. The doctors know it. It is what a TI is. And his lawyer brings it up again and
Yep.
says, so what have you thought about it? Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna give her up? And he goes, Michael's like, I don't know. And he's like, you know good and well, if the shoe was on the other foot, she would do it to you. And Michael knows this. He absolutely knows this. He
At the,
knows
at
it.
the core of his soul, he knows this.
He knows this. And so he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so the next thing, Kendall, correct me if I'm wrong, is they're driving. I think Christina's driving Michael home, right? Am I making that up? And then that's when he tells her, um, my lawyer or something would do something, or am I going backwards? My lawyer says, am I going backwards? Okay.
I
I don't think
think,
I am, but I don't have my notes. So,
I think you are.
okay. Well, let me just say this if we didn't say it earlier. Michael says, I would give up, that I could give you up. And Christine's like, well, are you going to do it? He says, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. And then she says, well, Michael, do you think that you could? Do you think that you could live with yourself if you did give off if I was in jail? And I feel like that was one really, really like last cry for her to try to
Mm.
get Michael to pull on his heartstrings. And it's also like a test. Do you love me that much as I think you do, that you would not give me up so that I won't go to jail because you don't want your boy's mother in jail? That's what she used. She uses the kids. You want me to be in jail? What about the boys, do you want their mom to be in jail? That
Yeah.
much I do remember. I think it
Yeah.
came after that, but I thought, wow, she is laying it on thick,
And
as she
now we
should.
go, as she should. And now we go after everyone has read this article and she's laid it on thick. It is pre-trial day and everybody's there. This is what we've been waiting for. And we see everybody's there except the man, but except Michael's lawyer. Like everyone is there, and we get this Natalia, this moment of Natalia seeing everybody enter the courtroom, all of the Barnetts. She sees all of this, and she sees what she has to face. They go into the courtroom, and Michael's lawyer is not there, which is so strange. And Michael's a little flustered, everybody's a little flustered, and then he just kind of like bursts into the courtroom, just bursts into the courtroom. Um, and basically says like something about two flat tires, which is really, really weird. In this moment, Natalia's lawyer, the man's lawyer, comes in and she's basically saying, I want to postpone this case because of this groundbreaking evidence of the mother in Ukraine. And we want to send somebody there to make sure that to test the woman to see if it's Natalia's birth mom. And that's when things really go awry because that's when Michael's lawyer is basically like, you have had more than enough years to prove this and to prove that. This is another plot. This is another ploy. This is not about that. You are not going to play these games with me and my person here that I'm representing. No,
And
no.
she's like, wait a minute, what? This is not about that. What else is it about if it's not about how old this little girl was living with these two abusers? How could it not be about that? How could this not be critical to me getting justice for my client?
So yes. So basically, this is we're gonna keep going, but I'm gonna come back to this here in a moment. But basically, the two go back and forth, and then the judge is like, "No, you can't postpone the case. We're gonna go
Yeah.
through with it. Let's go." And so now, what's really left on the table is like the only thing left now is Natalia's actual age. That's what people are going back and forth about here, and essentially, this reminds me of the moment where they had the kind of inexperienced lawyer on their behalf.
Yeah.
This experienced lawyer is railroad. Their
Yes.
lawyer is railroaded, and there's nothing that she
Yes.
can. Her hands are tied.
Yeah. And she tries, bless her heart. She tries. And then the judge lists what y'all finna talk about and what you're not
Yeah.
about to talk about in this court.
Because basically he says, we are not in the business of overturning previous courts' rulings. So if they said that she was this age, we're going to stick with her being this age. And so
Mhm.
now we've gotten the postponement off the table. Now we've gotten where she's the age that they said she was off the table. That takes away so much evidence, but he says, now you may proceed. It's like it's like what's a fashion show with no fashion? There's nothing to proceed with. That's where we are.
She has to be referred to as a person born in 1989. They can't use the word child. They can't use the word pediatric because we're seeing this now when they depart and they regroup separately. So
So
we're
horrible.
in the room and they're going, yeah, yes, it was. They're going one by one because the whole family is in there, and every time their jaw just drops more and more. I remember looking at Cynthia and Natalia, and they're like, "We can't." Okay, so what about the teacher? No, we can't say nothing about child. What about the so and so? Can't say you can't say pediatric because that the doctor. What about this? You can't refer to this part of the age. What about that? You can't use CPS because it's child protective services. So it's like when they took those clothes off of Cinderella
Yeah.
when she built her dress, and
Cinda
they said
who?
that I know that's my scarf. Those are my earrings. That's what, and she was left with nothing. But
Nothing.
no, she was just left with nothing. But like a good lawyer, the woman says, "But now what we can do is move forward." I mean, she's a good lawyer, and this is the only thing they could do. We can move forward with this as though she's an adult, even though they can't even say the word adult. We can move forward with her as an adult and a disabled person. So now we're trying to prove that Michael and Christine have abused a disabled person. And Natalia's sitting there looking like, y'all done hit me with a lot, but this is by far.
Her new glasses are fogged up. It is fogged. It is a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot. And just again, you see these adults moving around and it's like what miracle, I hate to say miracle, but what special voodoo is what we're going to call it, do
Yeah.
these Barnetts have that allow them to get away with what they did to me? But now I'm going back in this courtroom that's supposed to be protecting me, and I cannot even be a child. Like literally, I cannot be seen as a child. Literally.
Every reference of her being a child, it's thrown out. It was
And
really, really hard to watch. Yeah.
Cynthia is beside herself as usual. Bless her heart. She's been having a hard time since day one. And she goes, baby girl, this is not going to go well for you.
Ah,
And it did
ah,
feel terrible to hear her say that because it is like she spoke it over the thing, which I know Natalia was sensitive about. Because if you do believe in God and the power of of life and death is in the
yeah.
tongue, why would you say that right before we go back in this courtroom?
Yeah, I know. Going back to our experiences with our mothers, our parents, and things, and it does seem like when my mother says something is not going to go well,
It don't
and
go well.
I might think it's not going to go well, but the fact that she says it and it doesn't go well, I'm hot. I'm a hot tamale. Mom, I never want to talk to you again. You did that, Mom. And although all these other things were conspiring against us, but I am placing all of this on my mother because
Yeah.
she is the fun. So I'm right there with you, right there with you.
And Kendall, I love that you said that because that's another like theme or storyline in this whole episode. I think you were hinting at it earlier, is this hot tamale situation. And I spent the time trying to figure out, are they trying to show adolescence? Because that's when you butt heads with your
Right.
parents the most. Because at this time, how old was she, Kendall?
How
She was
old? I mean,
she
if
was
she
quote unquote grown, but I think she was still a teen.
20,
20.
no, was she 20? Because I mean, I think if this is the case, if she was truly born in 1989 and this is the year
No,
2022,
she wasn't born in 89. She was born in 2003. So she would
right.
have been 20, yeah, like by 20ish,
So
21.
yeah, well, yeah, she was adolescent,
Yeah.
adolescent.
Yeah. Where she wasn't grown, but she could say I'm grown because she was a legal adult. So the we're gonna see more encounters with Cynthia, and I'm like, well, what are they communicating? Are they trying to show a factual departure from Cynthia? Or
Hmm.
are they trying to show a mother-daughter relationship that isn't working? Are they trying to show that she's lashing out on the person who has really taken her in? I wasn't sure about that, but
Yeah.
they pretty much left it. I'm sorry to jump ahead, but they pretty much kind of left that like she said goodbye to Cynthia.
Well, but here's where we are though, because we can lean in there. So basically, like we've said, nothing is working. Nothing is working. And long story short, they throw the case out against Michael because there was nothing that they can use against him. So the Mans and Natalia lose. And as you said in that moment before, they had a kerfuffle, Cynthia and Natalia, and that is
Yeah,
over into after the case. And, Natalia is very on the steps, looking forlorn and defeated. And they really have a strong fight there, going deeper into what you say, where what are they showing us? But Natalia is pissed that Cynthia spoke that over their lives. She said, "You've always wanted this." She said that this was your fault. She's going directly at her toe to toe. And Cynthia actually responds in a very respectable way of sorts, you
yeah,
know.
she does. She does. And Natalia says things like, you still see me as a child. And she was like, no, 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 I don't, but you're my baby girl. And Natalia said something like, you basically have I told you so written on your face. And she
Yep.
said, she spoke very eloquently, Cynthia did. She
She
said,
did.
I'm I'm sorry if that's what you're reading on my face, but that's not what this is. And Natalia just says all these honestly horrible things to her. And she's just like, I know you're upset, but you cannot talk to me that way. And then
Right.
Natalia says one critical and damning thing, which is that you are the reason why those Facebook messages could not be used in court today.
Yeah.
You insisted that we not have an appeal initially when we were in the courtroom and Dr. GP was saying that I saw this, that, and the third. If we had appealed, then we could have used all that stuff. And Natalia is very convicted by this. Like, you don't get the sense that she's trying to hurt Cynthia. I mean, she is hurt, and hurt people do hurt people, but she's convinced, I feel, that her Cynthia's decision as the adult to not push, to not fight many years ago is the reason
Yeah.
why she cannot
Yep.
be a kid today. And Cynthia
Yeah.
says, you don't get to do that. You don't get to
Yeah.
do that. There was a lot of people in this gumbo. There was a
Yeah.
lot of people who have fault in this, and I will not take on the blame for where we all are today, and rightfully so.
And
Two
rightfully
things can
so.
be right at the same time. Natalia may have had a very good point that if we had appealed, then we could have, like Michael said, put this in a bow and be done with it. But what has happened to this little girl
Yeah.
from the moment she got into the US had nothing to do with Cynthia.
Agreed. And Cynthia also says, I'm the last person that you want to push away.
Yes, she does.
And
But she still
and
pushes her away.
and she, you know what Natalia says? And I'm surprised. I'm a grown ass woman. Case closed. She does what she wants. So there we go. So Christine takes all of this as great news. She's very happy that Michael has been let off of this case, but her friend Val is still quite sour. She's very,
Yep.
very sour about this. You know, that's called when the tides turn. The tides turn in that friendship. And Christine is like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go. She's got some pep in her step. I'm gonna go talk to my publicist. I'm gonna go reach out to my publicist. She opens up her laptop and sees a litany. That's the word of this. This episode is called Unpack the Litany.
Unpack the litany.
She sees a litany of Facebook messages that are basically calling her a terrible person, laying into her as they well should, all of these
Hmm.
different things. And Christine is shocked because she is holier than thou. She thinks that she doesn't deserve any of this. And Val really starts to like question her at this point. And she's starting to question a lot of things because she's probably read that article too about the birth mom. And she asked her, like, do you think you could have been wrong about any of this stuff? Like, do you think that you really honestly could have been wrong? And Christine is like, you know, screw you, girl. I don't have time for this. Michael has been let off. I don't have to do any of this. And and she says, boys, let's go. She tries to grab her boys, but not all the boys leave with her. She takes the oldest son with her, but before she goes out, because the two are really getting heated here. Like, I thought you were my friend. You were my friend, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff, all the things I did for you, the things that friends say when they get into an argument.
And
Um,
and Kendall, if I may, one of the things that Val did say was, but why couldn't anyone corroborate your story? And I all of them wanted to say, and she's speaking to all of the objections. Anytime everybody said, if I known she was a child, objection. She was a child, objection. And no, she was doing fine as a little girl, objection.
right.
Deny, 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 witness after witness. Val saw this and she said, I know what they were trying to say, what they wanted to
Yeah.
say, but the judge didn't let them. And do you think that there's any way that you could be wrong? She's given her an opportunity. Val has already made up her mind, but she wants to see, like, Christine, what's really in there. Just like Michael, is everything all right in there? And Christine is like, child, I got off. She was
I got child to go.
Oh no. Oh,
And of course,
Kendall, Val said, and this is what like a close up on the camera. She said she looked older.
oh, I forgot that
Yes.
part.
She looked taller.
She
And I'm
had
getting,
breasts. She
she had
looked
breasts.
older. So Val's actually have that moment of reckoning of like, if this is how she looks years after this,
Yep.
and that is who I saw years ago, this is what the grown up version or growing up version would look like. So who I actually saw was a child.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's basically saying, you took me from what you alone said to what nobody would corroborate to what I see with my own two eyes, and you cannot tell me I don't. I saw that girl then and I see her now. And I got chills on my spine now just recounting it. But in the film, in the TV show, it was so poignant because it's like, this is undeniable. And it was really the first time, Kendall, that someone directly, I'm clapping my hands, said something to her face. Because when we're in the lawyer's room, nobody wants to say, Christine, you're a liar.
Right.
What they say is no one can corroborate that because the lawyers know who these people are.
Yeah.
Um, Michael never just says, I think he one time said, did you know? Did you really, really know? Christine, whatever. Val says to her, I saw what I saw. And do you think that there's
Anyway,
any
any
chance? Any chance? Yeah.
and so they have that, and Christina's so nasty and so
Yeah.
rude. Before she storms out with her son, her one son, because the two want to stay there, she comes back and says, "Oh, and by the way, I saved your daughter too," and walks out.
Yeah.
So where's she going? She's got nowhere to go. She's got no man. She's got no money. She's got nothing going on but just children and pizza. And before we get to where she's going to go, we actually see something super interesting. Michael get a knock. He gets a knock at his door. It's Natalia Grace.
Mm-hmm.
And this was such a wonderful blend of storytelling because this is actually what happened in the HBO special that they put in here for us to see. So thank you, producers
Yes.
and writers here. But, we get there and she's asking him a lot of, she's like, can we talk? He's shocked, obviously, shocked. He's already white in the face, but he's Casper now. And at this point, she says, can we talk? And he acquiesces. And they sit down on a bench in front of his house. And I was so upset because, again, this is such a riff on the interview. And if anybody has the opportunity to watch the HBO docuseries, Michael has distanced himself so much from this situation. You would think he was in another country. You would think that he was never in that house. You would think that he had nothing to do with anything. He said, I was a victim too. How are you going to look a victim in the face and say that you were a victim? That is major gaslighting, but that is what he did.
And yes, Michael Barnett, the real man, did that, and so did the actor here. He said,
Yeah.
like he's piecing it together. We were victims. We were victims in this together. I mean, she was just who she was, and she, in the sweetest little voice, which is so amazing how she's grown this character up, says, "But I was a kid, Michael,
Mm-hmm.
and you did nothing. You did nothing to stop it. Why?" And she just keeps getting at the why. You get the sense that Natalia is like, okay, once again, you adults have failed me. Once again, the system has worked against me, even though the system was created to protect me. You got off. And she says that, Michael, you got off. Please just talk to me. The why. When she asked the question, why, I felt it in her being. Why did you adopt me? Like, why did any of this happen? She knows she would have been better off in any other situation than what the Barnetts put her through. And he says, I was down and I wanted to feel good. You adopted me so you could feel good about yourself. And then after that, you just left, you just checked out when it didn't work out.
Basically.
Yeah.
Basically. So then as the two are, going back and forth, we see they get a surprise guest here. We see that they get two people that show up that they weren't expecting, but two people that had nowhere to go. And guess what? We get Christine and their oldest son show up here. But in the car ride, because we're seeing the car ride over, the son actually says, I remember what happened when we were younger, and I
Oh,
remember the abuse, and I remember it. And how could you live with yourself? And she basically says, shush, shush.
you know, that Christine has this peaceful look about her, Kendall, this whole episode. If she gets bothered, she gets bothered, but it's just this little kind of hopeful, if I wear a brave face smile. And she even tells him, you were young, you don't know what you saw, and he knows his
Yeah.
mom. Jake knows his mom so well. Remember, I told you he's brilliant. So he is actually understanding the ins and outs of things.
But even still, we all know our mamas.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all know our mamas, and he knows his mama.
He also knows that she's playing him because she says, don't tell the other two boys, but I like our time best together. And I was
Get
like, well,
out
you
of
lost your credibility right there. Even Jake knows you're not supposed to say stuff like that to your children.
How many Daylines episode have I seen where it's this weird incestuous relationship between these? That is exactly some weird stuff that she was trying to pull,
Yeah.
and it just was so gross. And Jake was like, "Not today, girlfriend. I'm not that. We're not doing. I'm not going to jail for
Yeah.
you."
And
Um,
anything he says, she just says, you didn't know. Well, let's just not talk about that. Or, okay, that's how you feel. It just avoidance. What did you said cognitive dissonance before, but with her it's avoidance. And
mhm.
if you talk to her about something that she's not gonna, if you talk to her about the reality and she doesn't want to
Be there with
address it, if she
you.
doesn't want to address it, she just avoids. She says something that deflects, avoids, because
Well,
Christine knows. It's like some
well,
people that take it, yes, that take it to the grave. I've come this far. Anything I can that I say or do will be used against me, and you're not about to catch me
up.
slipping. You're not about to catch
Yeah.
me slipping.
I agree. So we get to the house, and because they have nowhere to go, and they interrupt, Christine and her son interrupt Natalia and Michael. And, she's shocked to see Natalia there. Michael's shocked to see Christine there. Everyone is shocked at this point. But it's funny that Christine lies and says, oh, there was a gas leak at Val's. That's why we're here.
And
And
Jake looks like Trick. What no dang gas
yeah,
leak.
was no gas leak. And then she says, can we stay? Michael says, no, you cannot stay here. You cannot use me again. So he finally puts his foot down so softly, says she can't live there. But this is one of my favorite parts of the episode because this is some redemption here. The
Yeah.
oldest son, Jake, basically cuts through all of the bull, like you said, and says, Natalia, I saw you at court. I didn't know if it was okay to speak to you, and I want to apologize to you for all the things that you've been through. An adolescent person saying to another adolescent person what adults should be saying. These two are communicating in that moment, and he's the only person in that family that has ever apologized to her.
And Kendall, you can see that land on Natalia, the fact that someone in the Barnett family would apologize to her. And she takes it in her knowing of what is right and wrong. And she says, it's okay. You were a child too.
Oh,
Which is to say, if anybody really was else victimized, it was those other kids who witnessed
mhm.
a little girl being beat and battered and torn, and their mom treating them like everything was fine. And he said she made us, you made us afraid of her. So she made them afraid of her. So of Natalia is what I mean to say.
Yeah.
And Christine is like, well, I guess I gotta get going. Jake ends up staying with Michael,
Yes,
in
yes.
which Michael is,
Christine says, "Well, I guess I got to get on the good foot because
yeah,
no way. Because
doesn't
I can't.
acknowledge Natalia at all.
No,
And at this
no.
point, Kendall, nobody expects her to. Everyone is very well aware of who Christine is and how she is. And she's walking around like nothing else has ever happened. And that's it. It's I couldn't even I couldn't figure out how, what because I think she played it that way because that's how Christine is now.
Yeah.
That probably that lady is taking it to her grave.
To her
And I
grave.
wanted to rattle her. You see Christine driving off as she goes to her mom's house, and she gets to her mom's house and her mom just gives a little
Uh,
baby. And then it says something about who we all try to come home to. And I'm like, even your vile, nasty, despicable self had a mom to go home to. A
mm.
mom to go home to. And Natalia didn't get that from you.
Ain't that
Natalia
the
didn't get that
truth?
from you.
Ain't that the truth? Because I know. That's a word, Michelle.
Yeah.
Everybody got a prayerfully. We're
Yeah.
supposed to all have a mama. We all
Yeah.
have different, but your mama is the one you can just be like down, out, dirty, did wrong. But your mother is supposed to love you. And in this moment, she's allowed to go back to her mother after being so vile, and Natalia doesn't have that. Oh my goodness, that is so good.
And she's looking at her mom as well and thinking about the pain that she had gone through.
Yep,
But you
yep,
still had a mama, you still had someone that you could go home to. And Kendall, the next part, when Natalia goes to her home with the
right.
Mans and her siblings are now grown up. They're adorable, by the way. Her siblings are now grown up. There, she walks in and she's overhearing the interview with her Ukrainian mom.
Yep.
And they're like, Natalia, come here, come here. And she's like, I heard that already. And she comes over and they said, no, no, look at this. And it's dozens and dozens, hundreds of kind, supportive messages towards her that said, can't believe that happened to you, Natalia. You're so strong. You're so
Yep.
brave. You
Yep.
are a beacon of light. We love you, Natalia. We love you, Natalia. And this is why I say, Kendall, that there is a bit of a bow on it because
Mm,
what Natalia wanted from the very beginning was love. And in the messages in response to this video, she found it. And you see her
light up.
confidence, you see her
Well
lighting
up.
up, well
Well up.
up, lighting up and well up because of what the world, and that makes us feel like the justice came from that. If she couldn't get it from the system, the right, I shouldn't say justice, but the wrong was righted when these
She
people
couldn't
get outpouring of love.
she couldn't get it from the court, but she got it from the court of public opinion.
Yes, yes, yes. And that is really another theme, Kendall, is to say that's what matters. If you think about our earlier episodes and we were like, people just get in this group talk, this group think. That is what matters because when you walk outside of your house every day,
Right,
the
right,
court
right,
of
right.
public
No,
opinion is to your
no.
left, to your right, to your front, to your
Yeah.
back.
The question is, can you walk outside of your house? That's
That's
the
true.
real
Can you walk
question.
outside of
Can
your
you?
house? And
Can
she
you?
was able to walk out with her head held high saying, I, the world, there are people in this world who don't believe what the Barnetts have lied about. There are
Absolutely.
people.
Real.
And it
Absolutely.
was, that's why I say it's a bow. And then we have some ending credits where the actors.
Yeah, that part did make me well. I can't lie. That part did make me well up too, because
Oh
I
no, I
almost
cried. Oh yeah.
I can't get too deep into this. I gotta just hold it together. But that was
Yeah.
very much like, oh, some redemption, some type of reprieve in this terrible girl's life. She sees the court of public opinion just like lifting her up. And sometimes that's really what we need is the court of public opinion, our peers to say, not these terrible systems that are strategically designed to uphold white supremacy and ableism and all of these things. We need the court of public opinion to say, I got you.
Vindication and validation. Vindication
Oh,
more than anything. And
boom.
love. That's
And
what she
love.
wanted was love.
Oh, unpacking the love. We might call this unpacking the love. All right, so we get to the very end. We got the series in credits. And what do they say, Michelle?
The actors are reading things.
Which I loved.
I know because you hear
Love.
Imogen's
I loved.
accent. What and she's the one, if correct me if I'm wrong, who reads about Natalia going out of the country and getting a passport that
Yep.
had her correct birth date.
Yep.
And they talk about how old she is now in the airing of the series, which I believe they said is Why we can't do this math, child?
She's 21 years
21.
old today.
21 during the career. Okay, is that but 2003 to whatever, child? Oh, because we're in five. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they basically say in when this show airs, she's
Yeah.
21 years today, and the show
Yeah.
aired in our time yesterday. So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah. Yeah.
hearing Imogen's British accent. I loved hearing all of
Yeah.
them talk about it. But the other thing that they said, besides Natalia's age, is that the mans have been accused of abuse too. Ouch.
Which kind of unties your bow a little bit because she's in the last scene with man family.
That's why I said it's not a bow. It's not a bow.
I need a bow.
It's a peppermint at the bottom, old peppermint at the bottom of a purse. It's crunchy. It's kind of good. Gives you what you need, but
Then
it's
you're
just
like
you're taking the
picking
hair
stuff off your
off.
tongue. Like it's still worth it, I
Michelle, are we unpacked?
guess. We have unpacked. They're gonna get on this little intercom again in a second.
Gosh. All right. Well, Michelle, before we hop, before we're unpacked, this was such a lovely experience with you. Can you just share a little bit about what you're doing and where people can find you? Because
Thank you,
there's
Kendall.
purple happening in the background. What you got going on, girlfriend?
Thank you, because I feel like it's going to happen again. I'm presently, my background looks different because I'm in my dressing room at the Alley Theater. I have an invited dress tonight where we invite the staff mostly and some folks in the community to come see us before we have our first show in front of a public audience tomorrow night. We open next week. I'm in the show Primary Trust by Ebony Booth, Pulitzer Prize winning show. I am a resident acting company member here at the Alley Theater, and my character's name is Karina, and all of the Wally's waiters and bank customers. I'm playing like 16 characters. I kid you not. So
Oh my goodness, Michelle.
yeah, it's our first audience in the space in about 30 minutes. So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. All right. Well, um, the Alley Theater, for everyone who's listening, is based in Houston. So if you're in Houston, check out this play. Also, if you
Yeah.
just want to check out a play, fly to Houston and check it out because it's great. And Michelle, where can people find more information about it? Where can they go to the alleytheater.com? What's the website?
Alleytheater.org. That's TRE.org.
All right. I'm super
Thank
excited about this. And could you give us could you take us out as we've unpacked? Could you give us one of the lines from your show? You got to know it. It's in 30 minutes.
Welcome to Wally's. Can I get you
Wow.
something to drink?
You know what? The Tonys were announced today and you were robbed.
I've been telling them that every year since I've been on stage. But yes, Kendall, we have unpacked this. Who knows what we'll unpack next? But I hope you'll keep unpacking with me.
Absolutely. We will unpack until the end of time. And there's a lot to unpack. So thank everybody. Thank all of our listeners for listening to this first season of Unpacked with Kendall Entron and Michelle Elaine official. And there's more to come. But yeah, I'm super excited to see what we unpack next and super excited to hear the rave reviews from your show, Michelle.
Thank you, Kendall. That's very nice of you. Well, a rose is still a rose. You can tell that you took that one rose out and put it back in. Like maybe you took a picture of it or with it, and then you were like,
You
let me
know,
put it
but
back
these are different from last week,
I
FYI.
can tell.
Yeah, they're
They're
different.
fresh.
They are interesting. They're interesting. But I really love the ones from last week. But anyway, we're unpacked. And till next time, people, have a lovely day and stay safe and love one another.